from the underground, fat girl from the mound, spit it how I live it, keep it gutter, that's how we get down, and I want to see y'all get it crunk, letting it know what hood you from, everybody with me high as fuck, breaking down and rolling up, back it up, a nigga like you, a girl like me can't pass it up, rolling by, looking good, put a reverse and back it up, what's the deal, let me make this clear, what you got right here, we broke the mold, one of a kind, short girl with a gold mouth full of shine, hard to test, sorry to tell y'all boys ain't here, ain't hard as us, stalling G, part of the streets, cause the streets are part of us, please it, oh, okay, stop. What's going on, everybody? It's Friday out this jump. What's going on, Fire Fam? Welcome to the Friday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze because we understand that, listen, it is more of them. It is more of us than it is of them, okay? It is billions of us. At most, it is tens of thousands of them, okay? And guess what? When we amass our billions of people, we are stronger than they. So I think we should overthrow they. Redistribute all the shit that they have been hoarding from us and stealing from us for centuries and generations. And so our seeds can prosper, yes? Your seeds, your friend's seeds, your seeds of seeds. We need a new system. And I think we are the people to make that happen. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to see you guys here in the place to be. This is Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is us continuing to remind you that we are at our new time. Please make a note of it. 7 p.m. is the time. And I understand, as I've said before, on Friday night, these YouTube streets are a little crowded, so I completely understand. But for everybody that opts to watch us live and participate in our live chat, please know you have my eternal gratitude. Thank you all so much. And if you are catching us later on the replay, thank you, please, and thank you. Hit that like. Drop us a comment. We appreciate it. I saw one of my sisters, I can't remember, was it Miss Nori? Who was it? It was one of my sisters who just put a comment under the video and said, for engagement. I said, thank you. So little things, guys. We certainly appreciate the little things here at Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Of course, I see all my good people coming in the chat. You know, I see Courtney, the SLP in this joint, stomping it in like a stallion. You know, Courtney's a stallion around here. Tyler Hackner is here. Stoner Loner is here. Alicia, my niece, is here. My other niece, Valley Girls 24 is here. Yes, Wendy is up in here. I see Latif in here. Feminist News Network, come true, baby. I'm so happy to see you. Come on in here. Miss J Free, DMV in the house. Come on in, y'all. I'm ecstatic to see my folks up in the spot. I'm so deeply appreciative. Shout out to Holly Horn. Holly Horn, you are regular in here now, so I got to show you some love. And it just means a lot. It means a lot, everybody. Before we actually get into the show, let me hit y'all with some quick. There's no fucking way I've been talking for 7 minutes, is it? Jeez Louise, time flies when you have diarrhea of the mouth. But a couple of quick housekeeping notes. So tonight, after the live broadcast concludes, it is our April Ask Me Anything. This is a Patreon exclusive. And I got to shout out Jonathan Guerrero and Lucretia and our patrons who have already dropped us some messages and some questions. If you are a patron and you want to participate tonight, go to the post on Patreon and drop me your questions, because this is how this works. I always start with the Patreon post questions first, and then we get into the live chat questions. And usually the Patreon post questions are very good, very good. They're the fluffer questions. So they get us warmed up for that AMA live chat, which is always a good fun time for me. I always have a good time at the AMAs. So that is tonight, AMA for the patrons. 2 Mondays from now, not this coming Monday, but the following Monday, I believe it's May 9th, is going to be our second Fire Fam Disability Support Chat. Shout out to the good sis Anna Hart and Mama Hart, who have been helping assemble this. So keep that on your radar if you happen to miss the first one. It was actually really good. It was very good. And I anticipate, since more people are going to hear more about it, we'll probably have more folks come join us, not this Monday. The second Monday in May is where we do the Fire Fam Disability Support Chats. Keep that in mind. And of course, this weekend, shout out to our comrades over there at the Revolutionary Blackout Network. They are doing an anti-imperialism summit starting today. Some of our BPM fam is going to be over there. And plus they have a really impressive collection of speakers and folks that are going to go over there. Even one of my favorite white folks, by the way, shout out to Aaron Mate. Aaron Mate is good white folks. Aaron Mate is going to be part of that anti-imperialism summit being held by the Revolutionary Blackout Network. Dr. Gerald Horn, Vijay Prashad, Margaret Kimberly, Danny Haifeng. And like I said, I know some of our BPM folks are supposed to be over there today or tomorrow. I will be joining Josana Sunday at 3 o'clock for a panel about Pan-Africanism. So I'm very excited about that. So just, yes, child, don't pay me no attention. So yeah, so those are our housekeeping notes. Okay, the housekeeping notes. Oh, sorry. I done crossed my legs and everything. I got very comfortable in here very quickly. So, gang, do me a favor. Thank you very much, Latif. I see my modding very strong up in here. Louis Kang is in the building. Quaker Socialist also is in the building. I'm very excited to see you guys up in here. So, now listen, I am so sorry. I'm going to try to keep the tone of this as up as I possibly can. But I have to tell you guys, it's not just the news cycle. It really isn't, because I think that, especially as somebody who has worked in media, who has, a certain level of aberration and resentment to media, to the framing that media tends to do on a myriad of issues, right? Not just racial issues, not just police issues, but all kinds of fucking issues, worker issues, climate issues. Gang, unfortunately, the hour is later than we think. And we could do things to turn shit around. But the problem is America doesn't give a fuck about the future, okay? And many times people correctly categorize the Republican Party as being a death cult. Accurate. But the problem is they got help. They have help. Capitalism is all in, because capitalism thinks that it's going to survive. Capitalism thinks it's a fucking roach or rat. And capitalism might be right, but I don't think so. I think capitalism can be killed. Capitalism is pretty young in this global game. 500 or so years. Fuck capitalism, yo. You a baby out here, capitalism. We about to jump on your shit. But the signs are not good, gang. The signs are not good. And the problem is that there are too few people who understand the how dire the situation is in all kinds of ways, right? If you even want to look at it from let's say, even a superficial perspective. I saw the stock market plunge 900 points. I don't give a flying fuck about what the stock market does, my nigga, because we are the stock. You understand? Like, that's the problem. We are the capital still. But the economy is fragile. The environment is fragile. The tensions in this country are extremely fragile. And all kinds of shit could kick off in all kinds of ways, right? And when I think about people who are either young, like in their 20s or even 30s, or I think about, babies and children and teenagers, I am despondent for their future. And it's not them that are the problem. See, I'm not like older generations of yore and be like, you kids are the problem. Y'all not going to be able to. No, the kids didn't have shit to do with this. The kids didn't ask for this. The kids did not effectuate any of the conditions that we are currently dealing with right now. The kids tragically are going to be the inheritors of what will eventually be a shithole planet, not merely a shithole country. But I want us to get started. Let's start in our shithole country, shall we? Because your man's Joseph Biden is doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on what I think is at some point has to be overkill, pardon the expression, of support for Ukraine, right? Biden is printing money to send to fucking Ukraine. Boeing and Raytheon and BAE Systems must have had a meeting in the West Wing. Like, sir, we need hundreds of millions of dollars in military contracts. How about we just go over there and engage in this military excursion with Ukraine and Russia. But anyway, let's rock with this A1 there, Tunde. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. So this is what Biden had to say yesterday at the White House, where he announced even more funding for Ukraine of the military variety and including economic support. And first of all, I mean, they holding Joe Biden together with Gorilla Glue and Scotch tape. That is clear, right? I don't know what injection they are giving Biden to actually make him put one foot in front of the other and to understand. Do you know your name is Joe? Yes. Okay, good. Go on out there and stand at the lectern, sir, and just read off this prompter. It'll be fine. But there's that. There's the very obvious accelerated mental diminishing of Joseph Biden, the sitting U.S. president. But this motherfucker has got to be losing his marbles if he think, but apparently he's reading the room very well. I was going to say if he think that the American people, but we know how the American people be thinking, they don't. If he think that people are just going to stand around and stand by and be like, sir, you are sending the future funding of generations of education, of healthcare, of student loan debt relief, of a lot of shit that people in this country desperately need is being sent to the front lines of Ukraine right fucking now. And really, it's going into the pockets of the military industrial complex. But I'll let Joe Biden brag on his fucked up foreign policy himself. Let's check out the president.
Much of the new equipment we've announced in the past 2 weeks has already gotten to Ukraine, where it can be put to direct use on the battlefield. However, we've almost exhausted what we call the fancy phrase, the drawdown authority that Congress authorized for Ukraine in a bipartisan spending bill last month. Basically, we're out of money. And so that's why today, in order to sustain Ukraine as it continues to fight, I'm sending Congress a supplemental budget request. It's going to keep weapons and ammunition flowing without interruption to the brave Ukrainian fighters and continue delivering economic and humanitarian assistance to the Ukrainian people. This so-called supplemental funding addresses the needs of the Ukrainian military during the critical weeks and months ahead. And it begins the transition to longer-term security assistance that's going to help Ukraine deter and continue to defend against Russian aggression. This assistance would provide even more artillery, armored vehicles, anti-armored systems, anti-air capabilities that have been used so effectively thus far in the battlefield by the Ukrainian warriors. And it's going to deliver much needed humanitarian assistance as well as food, water, medicine, shelter, and other aid to Ukrainians displaced by Russia's war, and provide aid for those seeking refuge in other countries from Ukraine. It's also going to help schools and hospitals open. It's going to allow pensions and social support to be paid to the Ukrainian people so they have something in their pocket.
I'm sorry, did Joe Biden just say he was about to pay pensions for Ukrainians? I'm sorry, what? What, nigga? Are you fucking kidding me? Joe Biden just articulated a whole bunch of shit and reasons that I do not want another single red cent being sent to Ukraine. And again, as a humanist, I do not lack sympathy or empathy for these people, but I'm sorry. Black people in this country, brown people in this country are suffering mightily right now. And for Joe Biden to get up there and say that the many billions, at this point, it's got to be tens of billions. It's got to be knocking on 20, maybe more billions than that. It's a lot of billions. For Joe Biden to get up there and say, yeah, all the previous billions in just a very short duration of time, because the Russian war on Ukraine has only been raging, 3 months? In a 3 months period, Ukraine has run true money, ran true to money. And Joe Biden said, yeah, the money that we had already allocated for Ukraine, we done ran out of that money, man. So I'm going to ask Congress for a supplementary budget bill. Nigga, what? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I don't know for whom this is going to be a popular issue for the Democrats to run on in the midterms, but I assure you, those of us who are going to be shamed for allowing Republicans to gain control of the Congress this fall, we gonna be blamed for that. And I'm gonna point to this shit right here, man. Talk to your mans. Your mans is the one sending all of the loot that we, like I said, desperately need here. We have a housing crisis in the U.S. We have an eviction crisis in the U.S. Oh, by the way, COVID is still raging in the U.S. We still live in a country in a pandemic where we do not have universal health care for all the people that live here. We do not have a raise of the federal minimum wage. We do not have a erasure of student loan debt. Joey B says he's on that though. Joey B says he is working on the student loan debt crisis. Gang, he has heard us. He has heard us, yes. He remembers that campaign promise that remains unkept, from whence the Biden administration, or at least the Biden campaign at the time, were initially talking about possibly a $50,000 student loan debt cancellation. And then that number went way down. It went down to $10,000 of student loan debt cancellation, and then it went to zero. And then it somehow went from $50,000 to $0. $0. But I think somebody at the DNC, one of these suckers is watching Burn It Down with Kim Brown, motherfucker, and Black Power Media, of course. But they hearing us. Like, yo, y'all are preparing a losing strategy here. Because if all of these concessions, which are usually given tax breaks, billionaire tax breaks, and I know Joe Biden has talked about raising taxes on very wealthy people, and that's good. And that's good. That has not yet passed yet, sir. So let's keep things in perspective here. But if the elites and the oligarchs that support the Democratic National Party and support really, all politicians, if they get the shit that they want, Slim, if you want something from us, ergo our votes, then you have to do something material and tangible for us. I don't give a fuck about Black women representation in the Joe Biden administration. I don't, yo. Kamala Harris as vice president doesn't do shit for me. Ketanji Brown Jackson as the first sitting Black woman Supreme Court justice doesn't do shit for me. Ask Puerto Rico about Ketanji Brown Jackson. She voted with the majority of the Supreme Court justices against Puerto Ricans receiving SSI and disability benefits, right? So Ketanji Brown Jackson is already quickly showing us the worthlessness of representation, because she gonna ride with them saltines, baby, every single fucking chance that she get. Make no mistake about it. So miss me with your representation, Joe Biden. I don't give a fuck. That doesn't do anything for me. That doesn't keep a roof over my head. That doesn't help me to remain housed. That doesn't do a lot of things, okay? But we have all paid into the system a whole lot. And we are propping up a lot of corporations like Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Google, a lot of motherfuckers who don't pay taxes. Isn't that something? Isn't that amazing how rich people and rich corporations manage to not pay taxes? But the IRS will run you down if you don't claim that little funky $1,400 that they sent you in stimulus. The IRS is like, Don't forget to add that. Don't forget to add that. We're going to queue up A2 there, Tunde. But speaking of the student loan debt cancellation, I suppose it's still on the table. Joe Biden mentioned it yesterday at the very same press conference where he announced many more billions and hundreds of millions of dollars will be provided for Ukraine. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But he did throw in a teeny tiny part at the end about student loan debt cancellation, of which Americans hold over $1 trillion in student loan debt. And by the way, you guys know this already, but it's Joe Biden's fault, in part, why you cannot include your student loan debt if you file for bankruptcy, right? Your retail debt, I guess your consumer debt will be wiped away. Not that student loan debt, baby. That student loan debt follows you everywhere. So Joe Biden made a quick mention of this. Let's take a look. A2, please.
Secondly, I am considering dealing with some debt reduction I am not considering $50,000 debt reduction, but I'm in the process of taking a hard look at whether or not there will be additional debt forgiveness, and I'll have an answer on that in the next couple of weeks.
How high are you looking
Thank
at?
you.
He'll have an answer on that in the next couple of weeks. Nigga, didn't you get elected in 2020? Wasn't this a campaign promise? What the fuck are you talking about? You're gonna have an answer in a couple of weeks. This is some shit that y'all should have been working on. This should not even be a midterm issue, a midterm elections issue. This is something that Joe Biden and the democratically controlled Congress should have had their arms around a long time ago. But I don't even know why I mentioned Congress, because this is an executive action. This is something that Joe Biden can do with the strength of his pen. He don't got to ask nobody, no permission to do shit when it comes to canceling federal student loan debt, okay? And then there's a lot of folks. Shout out to Lisa Snowden. Lisa Snowden showed me a tweet. There's a lot of folks out here who are like, well, I paid off my student loans. I don't see why y'all couldn't pay off y'all student loans. Keisha Lance Bottom, shout out to Lisa Snowden. God damn it, Lisa Snowden showed me this tweet, pissed me off so bad I couldn't even reply to the shit. She showed me this tweet from Keisha Lance Bottoms. Keisha Lance Bottoms, you guys know, the former mayor of Atlanta, queen of the respectable Negroes. Yeah, big time respectable Negro. Keisha Lance Bottoms had tweeted some time ago that the student loan debt was the reason why she chose to attend a public university instead of a 4-year private university. Well, good for fucking you. Didn't nobody ask you, don't nobody care. Okay, it's just something about people who are committed that if they had to walk a hard path, you gotta walk a hard path. Like, they will make sure that if they had a tough road to hoe, they will guarantee that your road shall actually be tough as well. And that is part of the reason why I am semi-catatonic when I'm thinking about the future of our youths, right? I am so concerned about school-age children, about young adults, about babies in the womb, because here we are in 2022. Guys, are we at 3 or 4 generations of people who have been trapped in student loan debt? For people who have been able to go to college, right? So, I mean, I know folks who, middle-aged like me, right? Parents or one of their parents, elderly, still paying on their student loans, them, middle-aged person, paying on their student loans. And if they happen to be parents, most middle-aged people have children soon approaching college age. So you're going to have 3 generations of people who are being crushed by student loan debt, right? And it doesn't have to be that way. It is the fact that Joe Biden and I guess I don't fucking know what it is, y'all. I mean, I guess it's capitalism, but at the same time, this is something that this was not cost the government anything. Right? Like it wouldn't really directly, the government's not going to lose $1 trillion if this money is forgiven directly via executive order. In fact, you're going to have people who have all of a sudden money freed up for them every single month to the tune of hundreds of dollars at least. I know some people even pay a stack a month, $1,000 a month in their student loan debt repayments. Imagine your student loan debt gone, right? And what are you going to do with that money? You going to save it? Fuck no. That's not what we do here, kids. That's not what we do here. We pay off debt. We go on vacation. We do shit that we want to do. But basically, recirculating that student loan debt money back into the economy, right? So while all kinds of economic experts, Obama's former economists talking about, well, you can't cancel student loan debt, it's going to spike inflation, bitch. Fuck you, okay? Fuck you, and fuck you. But the point is, as a personal person, as a personal person with student loan debt, you know what you would do with that money, right? You know how big of a difference that money being put in your pocket, because I'm sure if you have student loans, you have experienced, I suppose, that respite with the student loan debt repayment pause because of COVID, right? So, imagine if that was in perpetuity. You guys tell me, because with your student loans payment paused, I would imagine you was able to do a couple things, right? You might have been able to go to mattress discounters and got you a new mattress. You could have done all kinds of shit with that unpaid student loan debt money. And that's something very easy that Joe Biden can do, but he won't do it. And I don't expect Joe Biden to get back with us in a couple of weeks about this. I really don't, because this is some shit that he really does not want to do. Just like having universal health care. Joe Biden has made it fucking clear. He said this before being elected. Even if universal health care, single payer system were to pass Congress, and he said if it landed on his desk, he still wouldn't fucking sign it. Because he's a capitalist ghoul. He's a ghoul, okay? And Joe Biden is committed to working people's suffering despite his messaging, right? You look at his policies, you look at his actions, you look at the shit that he has fucking supported over his 5-decade-long career in Washington specifically. This man hates us. He hates the working class. He despises us. All of that blue collar bullshit is exactly that bullshit. They're trying to come in and speak the done language, bro, just so he can kind of appear to be down, Slim. Joe Biden ain't us, ain't been us, and will never be us. Fuck Joe Biden. But I want to show you guys this too. If you can pop up A3, gang, here's another indication of how Joe Biden and America doesn't give a fuck about the kids. So, as we know, COVID is still, I'm going to call it raging. I am going to call it raging because the truth of the matter is the American government and the American media systems have been so disingenuous about covering the ongoing phases of this pandemic. As far as I'm fucking concerned, this shit is, we still, I mean, maybe we not quite March of 2020 or even March of 2021. But kids, I can't tell the temperature of what COVID is because they won't tell us. They only update the testing numbers in some places once a week. They only update the number of hospitalizations and deaths like once a week. So how the fuck? And the news, local news, especially local media, seems very disinterested in continuing to cover COVID beyond, oh, well, aren't you guys excited? We're starting to warm up and here's a festival that's coming to town that hasn't happened since 2019 and the pandemic is over. But here's what the CDC estimates, okay? The CDC says that as many as 3 in 4 kids have coronavirus infection, okay? It's estimated 75% of school-age children have at least contracted COVID at least once. Some kids have had it more than once. And as far as American adults are concerned, I think the number is half. Half of people have had COVID. And I'm curious here, chat, if you're comfortable, I'm curious, have you had COVID? Have you had it? Like, but then again, I feel like that's a very loaded question also, because there could be people who had experienced symptoms of COVID and yet they tested negative because, again, our testing system is extremely janky. It's extremely janky. Some of them at-home tests ain't testing worth a fucking damn, right? They will consistently test people negative, and then when people go in and get which one is the real deal test? The antigen or the PCR? The antigen test is like the legit test. Like the PCR is the joint where the results are only 50% accurate or some not great number, but I could understand at the time why people were pushing PCR tests, because it's like something is better than nothing. Okay, well, we're at a point of the joint now where I think that better home testing should be available. Yes, but I digress. The kids have seen this, right? The children have been bearing witness to 1 million Americans dying. Some poor kids have lost both parents. There's an exorbitant number of children in this country who have literally been orphaned by COVID. Orphaned by COVID. I'm going to say it again. Orphaned by COVID. Children have lost their caretakers. They have lost their parents. They have lost their grandparents. So, and again, 1 million is on the low side because I'm guessing we might be rocking at 1.1, 1.2 million right now, but we won't know because they are playing funny with the COVID numbers, COVID deaths, everything pertaining to COVID. They are playing funny with the numbers. But think about this, what this effect has had on children, right? And I know a lot of especially the right wing, and then the liberals began to pick it up. Like, oh my God, what about the kids' mental health? Oh my God, we got to get the mask off. We got to get the kids back in school. Oh my God. It's like, I don't doubt for a second that isolation and COVID lockdowns were traumatic for children. But I would imagine having to go to your mommy or daddy or granddaddy or grandmommy's funeral, not being able to visit sick loved ones while they were literally dying of COVID in the hospital because of restrictions, I think that would be far more traumatizing than having to wear a mask for 8 hours a day. I mean, that's just me. That's just me. Shout out to Anna Hart. Anna, I did see your super chat. I'm sorry, I didn't mention it earlier. Thank you so much for your support, darling. And the kids are seeing this, right? They are understanding that the economy takes precedence over lives, right? That is a message that kids are being sent. And you know what? All kids in America receive that message eventually. I feel bad for these group of children who have endured this pandemic, for them to have to learn that lesson right now, right? Most of us learn it, like I said, eventually, but these kids have seen it straight up, right? My parents' life was needed to be sacrificed in order to save and preserve the American economy. My mama had to die because Joe Biden and Greg Abbott wanted to make sure that the economy got open, right? These children have seen this, they have heard this, they are internalizing it. Imagine what it's doing to them. And in addition, just imagine what COVID is doing to them. And I feel terrible because I saw Moderna is getting the vaccine ready for newborns, basically up to 6 months or something like that, for tiny kids. For the kids under 5, there is about to be a vaccine available for them, right? And then that's another thing, guys. The data about vaccinated people and boosted people who have still died from COVID, that information is not widely available either. And I think that is intentional too. So what do the kids take away from this, right? Well, of course, children are probably too young to understand long COVID. But I think that, what are we seeing? That they're, hold on, what'd you say, Louis Kang? Hold on, let me get back to Lou's joke, because Lou says, God damn it, kids are seeing that at sports bar hopping, hookah lounges, golf resorts, etc., were more important than doing common sense shit to rein in the third leading cause of death that popped up on us. Lou, I don't think people understand that, Lou. I really don't. Like, I think Americans are so programmed to accept mass death and to not even question mass death, that when you say the third leading cause of death, after what, heart disease and fucking, what is it, lung cancer or cancer? Either way, COVID just jumped up and snatched 1 million youngins off the planet in 2 years, right? And everybody is just supposed to accept that as fact. Oh, isn't that too bad? We'll do a little candlelight memorial on the National Mall. But guys, we have to get back to normal. We've got to get people back in the office. It's important. These small businesses, these restaurants are counting on you. And again, I don't minimize the plight of what small businesses and especially food establishments have endured over this pandemic. But I'm sorry, gang, your small business does not take precedence over anyone's singular life, let alone 1 million lives. I'm so sorry if your restaurant closed. Truly, I am. Be lucky you didn't lose your life, because a lot of restaurant workers did die. So did a lot of kitchen staff. So did a lot of folks in the service industry. So we have to put shit in perspective. But see, the problem is when you live in a capitalist country, they will equate the value of your life to a dollar amount, okay? And I know in actuarial sciences, that is how the shit actually goes, but I fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. The life of my mother has no price. You understand? Like, priceless. You don't have enough money for me to lose my mama and me be cool about the shit, especially to some bullshit like some fucking COVID. So imagine how the kids feel. So the other thing I wanted us to take a look at, I want to. I'm gonna go to A5 there, Tunde. Let's do that. I had reached out to. Do you guys on Twitter? Do y'all follow the Tennessee Holler? Y'all need to follow the Tennessee Holler. The Tennessee Holler is a low radical journalism outlet. I'm gonna call them that. I think it's only like a couple of youngins. I even think they might be white. But they are with the shits, and you know we respect the radical whites around here. we appreciate the contribution of the radical whites around here because it needs to be way more radical rights. But I digress. So the Tennessee Holler has been doing an outstanding job of covering the ongoing, I'm gonna call it fuckery at the goddamn Tennessee State Legislature, and baby. Who child? Them saltines. And I gotta call them saltines, gang. Gotta call them saltines because yo, they was crackering it at in enormous levels, enormous levels of crackery. I was watching the black lawmakers. The black lawmakers was just shaking their heads. They're like, I can't. We don't know what the fuck is going on here. Democracy has died. And yes, kids, especially our international fam, yo, the rise of fascism is right here, right now in the US. Please believe what I'm telling you. And in some states, it is way more apparent than in others. We have talked about Florida here on this program, and Tennessee says, bup. Hold my beer. Tennessee's got some things to contribute to the fascism conversation. And one of the laws that they just passed, and they passed a shit bag of, just a fucking shit bag of all kinds of crazy laws. And I reached out to the Tennessee Holler because they have been covering this extremely well on their Twitter feed. And the only reason they were not able to join is because they were doing a live local news hit, I think with Fox Nashville, at the very same time. So I think I'm gonna try to see if we can coordinate to have them on next week because y'all, whatever the craziness you thought was happening in Florida and Texas and Missouri, Tennessee is right there. Shorty, Tennessee actually might be leading the charge in craziness. So one of the laws that they did pass was a law targeting school libraries, right? And we've seen a number of these laws, or at least attempts at these laws, to take certain books off school shelves. And all right, I need for my white folks, I need y'all to answer some questions here. Our white viewers, can I ask y'all a question? Why is it always white parents? Why is it always white parents that want some fucking books taken off the libraries, right? It's always white parents. It is always white parents. I'm not going to say it's exclusively white parents, but when it comes to the ones who want to stand out there and be visible and vocal about why they want reading materials restricted for children in public school libraries, why? Why is it always the white parents? Why is it always the white parents? Make it make sense. I do not know. So check out this clip. It is going to be, let me prep. Oh, that's cool. No, I just wanted to set up whom is speaking. So, Speaker of the Tennessee House, his name is Speaker Sexton, included a last-minute amendment to a law that targets school libraries with takeover. I think they're going to actually create like a board, an approval board, like a state approval board, and all books that will be on public school shelves have to pass this submission process, approval process. Whom is on this board, right? Is it all right-wing conservative extremists? Are they going to tell people that, slavery was a choice? like what is the information that is about to be disseminated to the public school children of Tennessee? But when Speaker Sexton is asked by another, and this is Speaker Jerry Sexton, is asked by another lawmaker as to what would you do with these books that do not meet approval, check out his answer. Let's take a look.
Let's say you take these books out of the library. What are you going to do with them? You going to put them in the street? Light them on fire? Where are they going?
I don't have a clue, but I would burn them.
That's what I thought. Thanks, Mr.
Yes, I know. It's so easy. The mandem will always tell on themselves very awesomely. Fun fact though, that Speaker Sexton, Jerry Sexton, the Speaker of the Tennessee House, the following day, because apparently that clip went viral, the following day he refused to answer questions about what he would like to see done with the books. Quaker anarchist, Quaker socialist says that white people are fascist by design. Child. My God, why though? Why? Why? Y'all, I'm telling you, you guys know what my fantasy is, my Afro future fantasy or Afro past fantasy. Actually, I'm not even sure what the genre of the fantasy is, but maybe I have some Native American indigenous fantasy thing going on, because my fantasy, maybe I should write a screenplay. Who writes screenplays? Maybe we should write this up. That Hollywood would never greenlight it. But you travel back in time and you come to North America. Well, fucking Turtle Island. Yes, Turtle Island. What would never be no such thing as America, right? Wouldn't that be amazing? And North or South America, let's be clear. And you travel back in time. You come to what is, Mashpee Wampanoag land, which is now known as New England, but the Mashpee Wampanoag were the first Bama's to greet the English, the Puritans, and you got to tell them to yap their heads off. I'm sorry. I listen. I know they talking nice right now, and I don't even how would I communicate this? How would I communicate in Mashpee Wampanoag in my fantasy movie about you have to chop off the heads of the colonizers? Like if we were to travel back in time 500 years, how would I communicate that to the indigenous people of this hemisphere? Like. You got head coupe la tête. I don't know. That, of course, none of them would speak French, and that's good, right? Nobody in this hemisphere would speak any European language. Can you imagine that for a second? Just think about that. Nobody over here spoke English, French, Portuguese, motherfucking Spanish. Doesn't that sound like an amazing fantasy? Anyway. Thank you very much. Okie dokie. So anyway, I had to dive off on that tangent. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to show you guys real quick is going to be A4. So, but by the way, let me put a pin in the Tennessee thing, because actually I think it would be a really good idea for the Tennessee Holler to come on here and actually talk about this directly with us, because it was a number of anti-trans bills passed. Similar Don't Say Gay bills passed in the Tennessee legislature. They did a tremendous effort to try to privatize the public school system. The Gates Foundation is involved in some way. And the Republicans there did not allow any form of debate. Once it was clear that they had the majority, they were uninterested in debating the bill. And like I said, if you go to the Tennessee Hollers Twitter page, they did a very good job of encapsulating some of the obvious chicanery that was happening in Tennessee. And actually, I just remembered, I think we actually talked to, we have a guy in Tennessee. I need to reach out to him to say what's up. But this other story, gang, I wanted to bring to you is it's very troubling. It's very troubling because the state of Illinois is about to start fining school children. I'm talking about with like US dollars, like fining them. And I don't mean them little 50-cent fines that, again, for unknown reasons, that if you were a child of the 80s, 90s, or aughts, that the school store or somebody, if you was short a little bit, maybe you'd get like a 50-cent fine. No, this is different. Let me read to you from this piece from the Chicago Tribune. The courthouse lobby echoed like a crowded school cafeteria. Teenagers in sweatshirts and sneakers gossiped and scrolled on their phones, clutched the yellow tickets that the police had issued them at school. Abigail, a 16-year-old facing a $200 penalty for truancy, missed school again while she waited hours for a prosecutor to call her name. Sophia, a 14-year-old, looking at $175 in fines and fees after school security caught her with a vape pen, sat on her mother's lap. A boy named Cameron, who had shoved his friends over a Lipton peach iced tea in the school cafeteria, had been cited for violating East Peoria's municipal code forbidding, quote, assault, battery, and affray. What the fuck? He didn't know what that phrase meant. Neither do I, Cameron. And Cameron was 12 years old. Okay, and his mother said that he was wrong for what he did, but this is a bit extreme for the first time being in trouble. He isn't even a teenager yet, Sharon Poole said, as her son signed a plea agreement that came with $250 in fines and fees. They spent 3 hours at the courthouse as Cameron missed math, social studies, and science. This is not good, gang. So listen to this. So across Illinois, police are ticketing thousands of students a year for in-school adolescent behavior once handled by only the principal's office, for littering, for making loud noises, for using offensive words or gestures, for breaking a soap dish in the bathroom. This is what children in Illinois are being subjected to. And I even think that this violates Illinois state law. The article, that's what I thought. Ticketing students violates the intent of an Illinois law that prohibits school from fining students as a form of discipline. Instead of issuing fines directly, school officials refer students to police. School officials refer students to police, who then ticket them for a municipal ordinance violations. An investigation by the Tribune and ProPublica has found. So, gang, this obviously is a, I guess, more innocuous foray into the school to prison pipeline. Because should these children not pay these fines, they would actually have negative effects on them. This would follow them. This would be searchable in databases. This could even possibly affect their credit scores if some of these fines that they're being assessed for being fucking kids are allowed to stand and not able to be paid. Because let's be clear, gang, $175 ticket. I know grown people who don't pay $175 tickets because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and that is an undue burden on these children's families. And it is just an indication, everybody, about how absolutely grotesque this country is. And you already know whom overwhelmingly is being targeted for these kinds of fines. I don't know if they're out. Where's the fancy part of Chicago? Outside of Chicago. I can't think of it right now. But I don't know where. It's called Lake something. There's a lot of fancy outside parts of Chicago, by the way. And of course, y'all know I smoke a lot of weed, so my ability to recall things quickly sometimes is compromised. But this is absolutely horrifying, disgusting. I actually should, let me drop this in the chat so you guys can read this. So y'all can be angry like I. so we all can be mad together. Yes. But I mean, what kind of future? I mean, how do you think these kids feel about that? They are not even allowed to be children without some sort of punitive action. Like, do you know how many times me, even as a girl, would roughhouse in the hallways of the school building? Like, where kids push each other around, as so long as nobody's being harmed, right? I don't think that is something that a child should be fined for. I don't even think kids cursing in school is a finable offense. I don't think kids actually being allowed to be kids is something that they need to be punished for. But of course, Black and brown children are not allowed to be children in the U.S., right? They are held to unfair standards, and even more unfair standards, as we are seeing with the punishment of these fines. Illinois ought to be ashamed of themselves. Jody, thank you so much for your support, dearest. And by the way, thank you so much to Rose K for her very generous Venmo. Thank you so much, Rose. Thank you so much to Brendan W. Brendan W. Was very kind and ran us some bucks too. So thank you guys very much for your support. It's definitely appreciated. Where are the other ways in which America is failing children? I think that's enough. That's enough failure for today. I want us to go really quick into how the U.S. continues to fail disabled people, which should be coming as no surprise, as we generally see the ways that disabled people are treated in this country. And I think those who are experiencing long COVID, or who could potentially experience long COVID in the coming weeks, months, years, decades, are going to be in for tragically a rude awakening because this country is not prepared for this mass disability event that we have experienced with this COVID pandemic. But this is not that. This is against disabled people. This is subjugation of Puerto Ricans. This is a continued colonization and otherization of the peoples of Puerto Rico. So this was several days ago. Sorry. Several days ago. So if you got B1 up there, Tunde, so it's the Supreme Court ruled 8-1, 8-1, everybody, 8-1. That the government does not violate the Equal Protection Clause by excluding Puerto Rican residents from Supplementary Security Income, SSI, which is a safety net program for people who are blind, disabled, or at least 65 years of age. Sonia Sotomayor is the lone dissent, 8-1, 8-1. So that means Ketanji Brown Jackson voted with the crackers. Yes, okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought, and that's about what I expected. That Sonia Sotomayor looking at Ketanji like, really, bitch, really, bitch. Okay, I see what time it is. Okay, but this is a blow against disabled folks, but this is not a surprise to Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans have been subject to this kind of very blatant, very racist double standard of governance since Puerto Rico became a U.S. territory. When was that? Late 1800s, 1898, something like that. They've been on Puerto Rico ass, y'all, for 100 plus years. And openly talking shit about the island, about the residents of the island. And shout out to Democracy Now's Juan Gonzalez. Juan Gonzalez, I want to play this for you guys, and it's 3 minutes, but god damn it, it is a very educational quality 3 minutes, because Juan Gonzalez was all over this shit. Because Juan is going to actually reference a number of Supreme Court cases that have directly involved Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans that the court has ruled upon over the past several years. And every single fucking one, PR came out on losing end. PR came out on a losing end. And I know there are a number of people who are advocating for Puerto Rican statehood. Now, that whatever Puerto Ricans want to do with their island, I think they should do that. If they're asking my 2 cents, I said, why stop at statehood? Why y'all want to be part of this shit? Y'all go be free. Go be free, Puerto Rico. Be free. Be free. Free yourself from the shackles of your imperialist overlord. But let's take a listen to Juan Gonzalez from Democracy Now. Juan, like I said, Juan was all over this shit. I want you guys to listen to what Juan has to say, because he makes very interesting points and points out the fact that Justice Neil Gorsuch, that conservative piece of shit, even though he voted with the majority against affording disability benefits to residents of the island of Puerto Rico, he wrote a concurrent dissenting opinion where he kind of called out racism. And I'm like, nigga, then why didn't you vote against the shit? I don't care about your little principled decision that you wrote or your little piece. Anyway, let me let Juan Gonzalez explain this way better than I can. Let's take a look.
We now have had 4 Supreme Court decisions in less than 6 years, all of them having to do with Puerto Rico's relationship to the United States. Back in 2016, we had the Sanchez Valle case, which was an issue of whether Puerto Rico had separate sovereignty to be able to try people. The court said no. Then we had a few weeks later, the Franklin tax-free trust case on whether Puerto Rico could declare its own bankruptcy because it had no bankruptcy protection under U.S. law. The court said no. Then in 2020, we had the Aurelius case, which was a challenge to the legitimacy of the appointments of the oversight board that Congress had established over Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was arguing this was a federal imposition. I mean, some of the litigants were arguing this was a federally imposed illegal appointments board. The United States was arguing, no, this was Puerto Rico officers that were appointed by the United States. The court once again sided against Puerto Rico. And now we have the Vallejo Madero case, where a man who'd been receiving SSI benefits for years in this country and paying taxes in this country, moves to Puerto Rico, and then years later, the government finds out that he still was collecting SSI then and says he's not eligible for those benefits and that he had to pay back $28,000. That was the basis of this latest case. All of these cases take for granted the power of Congress to do whatever it wants when it comes to Puerto Rico, and governed by the territorial clause of the Constitution, as the court interpreted more than 100 years ago in a series of cases known as the insular cases. And this is the heart of the question here, the insular cases. There were cases like Downs versus Bidwell, DeLima versus Bidwell, Dorr versus United States, Gonzalez versus Williams, Balzac versus Puerto Rico, all in the early decades of the 20th century. Let's be clear. The insular cases have been for a century the legal underpinnings of American colonialism. They provide legal justification for the United States to hold other nationalities and territory under its control. So what does Gorsuch, who is one of the most conservative justices, say about this? And his opinion is astonishing in that it calls to completely overthrow the insular cases. Let me quote to you some of what he says. He starts out in his opinion saying, a century ago in the insular cases, this court held that the federal government could rule Puerto Rico and other territories largely without regard to the Constitution. It is past time to acknowledge the gravity of this era and admit what we know to be true. The insular cases have no foundation in the Constitution and rest instead on racial stereotypes. They deserve no place in our law.
Very pretty words there from Justice Gorsuch. And thank you so much to Feminist News Network for informing me that Juan Gonzalez used to be a young lord. I did not know that. Now a lot of things make sense about Juan Gonzalez's reporting. And shout out to Juan Gonzalez. I respect his work tremendously, and especially his reporting around this issue. And gang, I mean, that's you heard it. You heard it there. Puerto Ricans, even though that they can be drafted into the military, despite the fact that they do pay taxes, and to the extent of which some federal taxes are not paid, to me is 100% inconsequential, especially when it came to this specific case. This man, the plaintiff, I believe, should have been, or rather, I guess he was the defendant, because he was the one getting sued, right? The government said, run us back out $28,000. Listen, if this gentleman was receiving SSI, I assure you, he did not have $28,000 just laying around to repay the government. But it is extremely unfair. It is beyond insensitive to disabled and seniors who live on the island, who should be entitled to all of the benefits that people on the mainland receive. If you work, period, or even if you don't fucking work, okay? If you don't work, even if you don't work, but if you're not able to work, the government ought to make sure that you do not fall into homelessness, into houselessness, that you should not starve. Like, universal basic income should be provided for all people who are part of this this colony and this settler colonial state. But if you're not going to give Puerto Rico the entitlements and the benefits that other Americans give, then let them niggas go. Tell them to sign the charter. Say, be easy, PR. Puerto Rico could be easily its own economy, but colonization, I'm sure, has done a number on the island and on the infrastructure on the island, and of course the American military engagements and pollution and decimation of some of the natural resources of the island. Even if Puerto Rico were to become an independent nation, not the 51st state or 52nd state or whatever. I mean, I say 52nd, assuming that DC becomes a state, which I don't know. Once DC gets to 65% white people in the city, it will become a state with 2 white senators and a white mayor. It's going to be white. But that's what they're waiting for DC statehood. But I digress. Getting back to PR, I read a portion. I think it was Kavanaugh who wrote the majority opinion in this Supreme Court case. And like I said, I read a portion of it because when I start to read legalese, it's migraine triggering. But the portions of Kavanaugh's opinion that I did read, he basically punted or blamed Congress for failing to repeal these insular laws as Juan Gonzalez described, right? Congress has the ability, has the full power to restructure a lot of things in the ways in which American territories are treated unfairly. And that's what I'm seeing basically coming out of DC. And I'm seeing it, and guess what, y'all? Young people are seeing this as well. This ineffectual, intentionally impotent government who is insistent on doing as little as possible for the people, right? The Supreme Court blamed Congress for this situation in Puerto Rico. Joe Biden blames Congress for all kinds of things. Congress blames the president. It is just a bunch. It is a finger pointing firing circle, right? Circular firing squad, right? All they do is blame one another while at the same time getting caked up off lobbying money and managing to not only slow walk our progress, but actually start to walk us backwards, right? And I've read recently a report. Thank you. It's a Viquez. I read Spanish terribly, Holly Horn. I'm very sorry. Very sorry. But yes, I know what part of the island you're referring to. Yes, where the military has so many unexploded bombs there. I don't even think they have count, right? They can't even count how many unexploded bombs there are right there in the waters off Viquez, where fishermen routinely have to go out over these fucking bombs in order to earn a living. It is atrocious, horrible shit. But y'all, I mean, the jig is up. Y'all, Gen Z has peeped the game, okay? The oldest members of Gen Z were born in 97. That would make them what? 24, 25 years old. The youngest members of Gen Z have only recently been born, right? So I think in about the next 20 or 30 years, you are going to have an entire generation of very despondent adults, of very catatonic, don't give a fuck adults, who have fully understood how the system has failed their parents, their grandparents, and is now failing them. And it's sad. And I have to tell you guys, for those of you who are parents, like I feel for you. I really do, because I know I am child free, but I feel a lot of guilt. I feel guilty. I feel guilty. And I delivered no children into this world, but I still feel guilty. I feel guilty that even in some way, in some part, I was not strong enough to really change the world in a way that would make it better for the kids. I do feel as though the kids are more empathetic and understanding to those different than them. I feel as though the extreme, well, not the extreme, but the right wing has picked up on that and is trying to encourage white children to know, you guys don't need to be sensitive to other people. No, these black people and non-white people are making you feel bad about your heritage. No, you should be angry. I think there's a lot of white children who actually get it, right? Well, they can very easily deduce that Native American people were treated wrong. They can very easily deduce that black people and formerly enslaved people here were treated wrong. And that's not something that they shrink from, but they are being conditioned. They are being conditioned that this is something that they should feel resentful about. Even merely learning about the shit is too much. It's too much of an imposition on fragile white children. Why would you want to teach kids about racism while their black classmates are getting pulled out of class by school security and placed in handcuffs for roughhousing or using bad language in the hallway, where now, as you see in Illinois, those same black children are getting fined hundreds of dollars for merely being kids. But y'all, if you're parents, if you are parents of children, human children, not you dog mothers, not you dog and cat mothers and fathers out here, not you dog and cat mothers and fathers. I'm talking about parents of human children, human children. If you have human children out here, you have the most incentive to burn this shit down, right? You have the most incentive to burn this shit down, because if your child is non-white, if your child is non-male, if your child is non-heterosexual, your child is in danger. Your child is in danger. And truly, all of us and all children are in danger because of the climate. But goddamn, the police are still killing black children out here. The police are still killing brown children out here. The governors of Texas, Missouri, Florida are trying to teach your non-straight kids that something is the matter with them. They are trying to deny them health care and mental health access, trying to drive these trans and gay kids to suicide. You understand? Like, they are trying to literally remove them from society. Like, the children, they need our help right now. They need us. They need our hugs. They need to be told that it's going to be okay. And they have to be told and pointed out specifically that no, the people who are in power, who are enabling these policies, who are being silent while these policies are being enacted, that shit is wrong. Okay. And the kids are going to have to see us truly lead by example to show why the fascists have to fucking go. Right. And how do you remove fascists? With violence, with the violence. I mean, and I bet you YouTube gonna act like a ho-ho behind that. But I mean, violence. I don't see what the fuck you supposed to negotiate with fascists. You supposed to invite fascists to the conference, to the summit? You want to hear the fascist point of view? Fuck that shit. What's up, Bronx Bad Gal? Bronx Bad Gal ran me some money. Thank you so much, darling. Bronx Bad Gal say, you keep hitting the nail on the head, KB. Thank you, baby. The pic of John Carlos on the back is everything. As oh, you personally know him. Okay. He is the real deal and keeps it 100 all the time at 70 plus. Thank you so much for that, Bronx Bad Gal. I'll tell you a real quick story about that picture, and then I'm going to turn y'all loose because we do have the AMA tonight for the patrons, for the Patreons. That's for y'all. Bronx Bad Gal. So that picture. I had the opportunity to meet Tommy Smith. I met Tommy Smith, and that picture is actually autographed by Tommy Smith. And when I met him, Tommy Smith is the youngin, is the fifth youngin. Yes, that is Tommy on the top of the podium. Do I have that correct, Bronx Bad Girl? Correct me if I'm wrong. But I met Tommy Smith, and he signed that poster for me. And my brother who was murdered, he actually signed a poster for him too. And you know what? Sometimes I wonder where that poster went. I wonder if my brother ever got it. Because anyway, we weren't there together at the event at the same time. But I specifically bought 2 posters and asked Mr. Smith, would he mind autographing a poster for my brother Mike? So that, yes, there's that. Thank you so much for recognizing that. And that is something, that is a piece I am extremely proud of, because Tommy Smith told me, when I met him, I asked him the kind of support that he received after that protest, he in Carlos, and he told me that they received very little support, that a lot of motherfuckers did not return their phone calls, and that when the white press started to drag them for filth because these young black men had the audacity to offer up a silent but very loud protest on the international stage representing the United States as black men, that a lot of the down folks that you think that would have rode for them did not ride for them, y'all. Did not ride for them. So thank you so much, Bronx Bad Gal. Thank you so much for that. I certainly appreciate that. So yes. So as you see, Courtney is letting you know that the Ask Me Anything, maybe we should rename it. How about not ask, Courtney? Let's call it the Axe. The A-X-E. The Ask Me Anything. Ask Me Anything. That is coming up. Let's give it 10-ish minutes. Here we are, 8:12. Let's reconvene over on the Patreon space at 8:20 and 5. How about we do that, gang? So do me a favor, hit the like button on the way out. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please take an opportunity to do so. Don't forget, join me Sunday afternoon over on the Revolutionary Blackout Network. We are talking only Anti-Imperialism Summit. I will be on with Josana discussing the importance of Pan-Africanism in our organizing in order to defeat the empires. There's more than one empire. We got to bring them all down, bring all them bitches down. So run with us in RBN this weekend for the summit. Tonight, I believe there is a new Lukman Nation. Is that happening right now? Probably. Go watch Jacket. Go watch Riot Starter TV after the AMA, of course. And of course, subscribe to all of our comrades, to Black Power Media, to the Last Dope Intellectual, to Sabby Sabs, to RBN, to the Bank Sisters. We need to support this entire leftist, black leftist ecosystem out here, gang. So do what you can to support our comrades and our allies as well. Alicia, Feminist News Network, Courtney, Bronx Bad Girl, who else we got? Latif, everybody, Lewis Kang, Pookie Wood in here. I don't see Pookie Wood, but anyway, we'll see you guys for the AMA in just about 10 minutes, 10-ish minutes, and we'll see you back here on the channel Tuesday for the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Guys, please don't forget that COVID is definitely still out here jumping on people. I don't give a fuck what TV told you, okay? Wear your mask, wear your good mask, wash your hands, social distance still. Be careful when you're in crowded indoor spaces, okay? On behalf of Tunde and Molly, we love you guys so much. See y'all later. Bye-bye.